If you're tired of the standard business and marketing fundamentals, frameworks, and funnels, you need a little mischief. Get ready to turn up the volume on the CEO Mischief Maker podcast, where you access conversations with seasoned business owners who have smashed through mindset barriers, innovated the standard boring business and marketing playbooks, and executed future-paced strategies with bleeding-edge tools and tactics to micro-fail their way into massive success and growth. We are Mindset Impact Strategic Catalysts helping innovative entrepreneurs focus. We are CEO Mischief Makers. Ready to make a little mischief? Okay, I have a question. Are you kind of stressed about your business finances? I mean, let's be real. You might want to get a few things sorted out first, like mindset or strategies or anything like that. Get that under control before you handle finances or even look at them, because they're kind of scary sometimes, right? But if you know you want to be a 100% CEO because you know that it's the 100% CEOs who actually succeed, then I think I know someone who can help you. Really, if you want to handle finances in a way that's not boring or overwhelming or frightening or feel like a waste of time, then you need to talk to Pam Prior. Okay? You're hearing our conversation. You're going to hear another one today, but basically she helps you make the financial part of your business not just fun, but also transformational. She has a couple of things to help you. Number one, she has an actual workshop. And if you want to join her on this workshop, go to pamprior.me/finance checkmate. That's PAMPRIOR.me/finance checkmate. And you can sign up for this workshop and she will take you through the whole process of really getting your finances in order in a fun and transformational way. She also has a podcast. You can look up on any of the podcast players, Cash Flow with Pam Prior. And I guarantee you will not be disappointed. If you want to walk away and level up your finances, no fluff, no jargon, no convoluted finance speak, then you need to talk to Pam Prior right now. Don't hesitate. Listen to this episode, definitely, but then go talk to Pam. Welcome to Wednesday. And if it's Wednesday and you're listening to this live on the day that it's published, then you know that we're going to talk about impact and innovation. And my amazing guest, Pam Prior, if you did not listen to Monday's episode, you need to go back and listen to that, because we're building on that from something Pam actually said on Monday, on the last time we chatted. And that was, you talked about taking different parts of different pieces of different frameworks that people were using, and they weren't working individually, but you took those into your business as an entrepreneur and innovated them in a way that allowed you to build what you're doing. So first off, welcome to Wednesday, Pam. Thanks for joining me.
Glad to be back.
And secondly, tell me more about that. Tell me what you meant by taking those pieces. Where were you getting the pieces, and what did you actually form in your business with them?
Yeah, I love it. First of all, I love the most that when we talked about this ahead of the podcast, you called it innovation, because we don't credit ourselves. I don't credit myself as an innovator. And you're right, it really is innovation. You pointed out that that's what we're really doing every day. But I had been on speaking tours and was in a mastermind, was blessed to be in a mastermind with some really, really good entrepreneurs who were, way ahead of me on the financial success scale in their businesses. And Alex, who we talked about on Monday, was one of them, but there were 9 of them or so in the room. And each of them had advice for me kind of on the side. And if you put it all together, there were a bazillion conflicts. So what I really did was said one day I just cleared the plate. And I said, 2 things I need to work on. One is my mindset, and one is the business itself, how to scale it. So first, with the mindset, I knew from that experience that I'd had about the stealing as a kid, being a little thief, that there were other things inside of me that I wasn't even aware of yet. So I put together an exercise, and I do this now quarterly, where I sit and go, what do I believe about a certain thing? And in this particular case, I picked money. And this is an exercise anybody can do. And I said, okay, I need to take all the things I've learned from chakras and my faith, and I'm a Christian, so it was Christian-based faith, from listening to Abraham Hicks, from watching Joyce Myers, from listening to my sister, who's a Methodist minister, all of this stuff about universal consciousness, and I needed to make my own thing out of it. And this is just one of the practical things that I did. I said, okay, what are all the things I think about something and have learned about something? And in this case, it was money. And I wrote down like 10. But here's what I figured out. If I'd stopped at 10, I wouldn't have ever gotten to that story about the thievery. So what I did was, anytime I brainstorm now, I think of it as I'm running down, in a full room, and I'm brainstorming and get a lot of stuff. And then you hit this door and you have the choice of stopping or opening that door and going into a hall where you think there's nothing else. There's nothing else, it's empty, it's a hall. But you stay in that space until you see the door at the other end and open it. What you open into is not a room, it's the universe. And all of a sudden, all these other things started pouring in. So I found that to be such a powerful thing that I do that for myself with mindset once a month. But then I sat down and did it also with all of this stuff I learned about the business. I had to modify it a little bit, but somebody said you should use these words. Somebody said you should always have red as your color. Somebody said you should have green as your color. Somebody said, never use the word finance. It's too confusing. People don't know what a CFO yet is. Somebody else says, oh yeah, tell them you're a CFO. There's so much credibility. You work for Fortune 50. I was like, yeah. So I just put it all down on paper, and I crossed out all the outliers, the absolute, do this and that, and they were completely opposite. And then decided to define what was most important for me. And I set down kind of what were going to be the core values for this business, what was really important to me. And we're still working on the wording because I have a larger team now, but essentially, it came from one of the leaders that I mentioned, and we just changed the wording a little bit. But one of them is pay it forward. One of them is have fun. One of them is be excellent. Always do your best. And then the other one is cultivate community. So I knew that whatever I did, I wanted those things incorporated into it. And once I had that, I was able to get out of the gate on almost everything else, because I could always pressure test it against those. Now, those values have changed since when I developed them, but they haven't changed. We've reworded them for impact for the whole team. But essentially, I just use that as the filter then to kind of push all the decisions through.
And that, okay. All right. CEO Mischief Makers, think about this. So none of that was balance people's books or help them decide what their investments are going to be, or how much should you pay your staff, or any of those details. We're talking about innovating the way you look at life and what you bring to your business, not just the details of what you do, but what you bring and what you want to take, how you want to impact others. That's exactly what you just outlined with those, I think, 4 different things, right? It was really how you want to impact others and how you want your business to impact you, or what you want to bring to it. That's innovation.
Well, yeah. And then as I'm going through that exercise with the clients, I'm extracting the financial model from them. They're talking about that, and I'm drawing a picture here or creating the spreadsheet or the model that we can then make sure that their books are set up to give them the indicators they need to know if they're doing or not doing what they want to be doing in that context. And that's the real special sauce for us, is it's the books. Anybody can do books. Anybody can do accounting. Well, not anybody. You have to be a geek and that stuff. But anybody can have, certainly anybody can have 20, 30 years experience in corporate as a finance person. These fractional CFOs, we're a dime a dozen. But this is what really made it work for me, is because then you got to see their eyes light up. Then you got them to go, wow, I really need to know these numbers, because now I can completely, and I don't ever have to talk about a balance sheet to them.
Yeah. That's it. That's what I don't care what you do. If you look at that just like Pam just said, she got all these different pieces from all these different mentors or advisors or, peers, all those people. And some of them were conflicting. And so they're like, what? That doesn't make sense. So throw those out. If they're completely opposites, neither of them are correct. But then take that middle ground. It's always the messy middle that makes a difference. It really is. It's that messy middle piece that we've got to dive in and swim through the mud and figure out and spit out. And that's really where the magic happens, is in that messy middle. And so you take those messy pieces, right? And you then formulate them to fit you. That's innovation. Because I hate to break it to you, but you're a human, and there have been billions of humans on this planet before you. And they've all done all of it. All of it ahead of you. There's nothing new. Yeah. I mean, even going into space, we've done that. Right. Yep. Even going down into the depths of the ocean. Yeah. There's some parts we haven't seen, but somebody's gone down in there somewhere. So we've all done it. We've all felt all the emotions. We've all thought all the thoughts. We've all had the imposters, billions before you. So if you look at that and go, how am I going to make that mine? How am I going to live my own authentic, unique life if I don't take all these frameworks? Yeah. Right. And so that is so amazing how you've done that. Now, how are you? Let's talk about impact a little bit, because we've talked about innovation and we've talked about how you've taken those pieces, but how are you looking at this business as having an impact? Who are you really ultimately wanting to impact?
Yeah. So what I recognized was that, well, first of all, no business will succeed without the finances being in order, without people understanding cash flow in a way that they understand it. Because whether you're a not-for-profit, whether you're a foundation, whether you're a for-profit business, if there's no cash, there's no business. It's just a reality. Just like if there's no time, there's no business. If there's no energy or vision, there's no business. So I know that needs to happen. And I know how to do that. That's the stuff I can do with my hands tied behind my back and blindfolded. But what I saw was that there were a lot of people who could do that. And most small business owners, at least the thousands that I've talked to on stages or in person, just felt so separate from their numbers. Mm-hmm. And there's so many different things. Like it all categorized itself down into 4 real categories, but 2 of them were kind of psychological issues. 2 of them were very tactical issues, depending on the person. But one of 4 reasons they didn't want to deal with their finances. The psychological ones are shame and fear, and we could go on about those forever, but I won't. They kind of speak for themselves. The very tactical ones are time. There's not a lot of time to learn new stuff, and overwhelm. You don't know where to start. So one of those 4 barriers was always stopping everybody from getting through to this, and nobody was addressing that. Yeah. So we kind of matched up this. Let's figure out which one is yours. And there are real solutions to get through those with the momentum of that entrepreneur, so that it doesn't feel quite as overwhelming or scary or shameful or whatever the thing was that they were dealing with. So that's how we really have made this work, is that attachment to that entrepreneur to figure them out, move with their momentum. And my impact is, we laugh, but I want to have a Zoom with 10,000 people, entrepreneurs on it, going, finance is fun. And that was one of the things I was told to take out of my marketing. Stop saying finance is fun, because nobody believes it. I'm like, nobody believes it, but they will when I'm done with them. And I want entrepreneurs to have this part of their business to be as much fun for them, as exciting for them as the marketing and as doing their own operations stuff. And because it's a difference between success and failure. Yeah. So there's no reason that only 5% of businesses should succeed if we can get this stuff spoken to them in a way that resonates.
That is so true. And I'm so glad we're having this conversation, because it is a scary place. We really attach our self-worth to those numbers, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. And when we attach our self-worth to those numbers, and the numbers aren't looking the way we want them to, then how do we handle that? And most people are going to, just like you said, the too psychological, they're going to hide in shame, or they're going to, beat themselves up.
Keep the door closed, not look.
Completely. And that's the complete shame, or they're going to be just so afraid that they're going to be immobilized as to what to do. So to tackle that from that perspective, Pam, that is brilliant. That is so innovative. And and so important, because all of us, I don't care who's listening to my voice, every entrepreneur on the planet, you can't tell me that Elon Musk has not felt some kind of fear when he almost bankrupted Tesla
Oh,
or
gotcha.
bankrupted, it's, of course you're going to feel that way. You're going to feel shame. You're going to feel all those things. But guess what? He got past it. And now what do we have because of it? And
Right.
so you can too. If he can, you can. There's the
Exactly.
model. There's another human being out there in the world who has overcome that. And if you
Mhm.
let yourself stay stuck in it, then you're going to be stuck.
You're going to be stuck. And that's exactly right. And I just, you nailed it. And the thing I love about this, like you said, I mean, this podcast is awesome for me emotionally, because I don't think of it as innovation. I don't think of it as something that different, but it kind of is.
It very much is. Yeah,
Yeah.
very much is, especially in your field, right?
Mhm.
And I went to a conference a couple of months ago, and there was a finance gal that was talking, and she was, I mean, this gal was a blur. It was just a blur. It was a blur, not just because she was talking fast and she went through a lot of content in a very short period of time. I mean, we're talking a workbook full of content, and she just touched on the chapter headings and gave us the
Wow.
workbook. And so it was like a blur of information, but it was also a blur of uh, of of concepts that were not really tied down into
Gotcha.
one feeling, right? That
Over idea.
yeah. And so to bring what you're talking, what we've been talking about just in the last few minutes is really beyond just that blur of numbers and that blur of you need to make sure you have a profit, or your, minimum minimum income versus, maximum expenses, and all that kind of stuff. That's the
All the
stuff that gets,
terminology.
yeah, it gets really, it's boring. It's like,
Mhm.
they're numbers, but you've brought it into the human aspect.
Yeah, yes, and it's really important to us. In fact, one of the things the bookkeepers that work with us will tell you is that I make them crazy, because they'll say a sentence and I'll say, nope, reword it. Reword it. Who is it you're talking to? How do they feel about this? Spend that time. That's how they specialize and make themselves stand out. Is it's just people with anything, they want the human connection. They
Yeah.
just want the human connection to something
Yeah.
so sensitive and important.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure you and I could talk at length about
Yes.
this balance that we have to have, because we both deal with people who are very technical, right? Very, very black and white, very technical.
Mhm.
You with bookkeeping and accounting, and me with techies, with builders, with coders, with software, with, those kinds of things. But yet we also bring in that human side. So to be able to make that person who is very technical really stretch into that human is difficult. But if they embrace that, if they embrace that vulnerability that it requires them to have, because that's really
Mhm.
where it is,
Yeah.
the power they have, the breakthroughs they have, aren't they amazing?
What it unleashes is unbelievable. Things you can't imagine, because until you do that, you can't see all the pieces come together, because it was just you. It was just you in your head, and you were pulling that bus alone on your back with a rope, walking down the street. All of a sudden, let the rope go, and all of a sudden people are pushing and you're in the driver's seat. It's amazing.
All right. I can't wait to dive into our next topic, which is going to be taking those details and really creating a strategy around them, and getting you down into the tactics. So, Yahoo, hang on. Okay, hold on. If your mindset was shifted, you were inspired to innovate, and you were spurred into action, don't just move on with your day. Focus, my friend, and take a few minutes to visit ceomischiefmaker.com to learn more about the value that was shared with you today. Please act now and create some CEO mischief of your own.